Hearing close in the forest you'll find a fabulous banquet, a fairy ball. If you close your eyes and you open your mind, the veil disappears and you'll see it all.
Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese, and today's video has been so incredibly highly requested, but beyond that, it's been something that I've been heavily following and doing a lot of my own personal research into, because as you guys know, I just recently, not too long ago, did a video on the truth about Dybbuk boxes, where we basically explored the harm of Dybbuk boxes, where they come from, what they were used for, what occupies a Dybbuk box, what a Dybbuk is, and just overall how flipping dangerous they are. And here we are today, hearing that Post Malone has potentially been cursed by a Dybbuk box, but not just a Dybbuk box, the Dybbuk box. Everywhere I look, it seems like you guys are sending me this link and sending me this link, and the more and more that you guys are talking about it, the more that I personally want to talk about it as well, because one of the biggest things we talked about in that video was the fact that not only is it incredibly dangerous to open a box like this, which is what a lot of people were doing online, but I mean, okay. But it's also incredibly dangerous to touch a Dybbuk box, and that is where we find ourselves talking about this particular circumstance with Post Malone. Now, I'm not going to get too much into detail revolving around Dybbuk boxes. I'm more so going to be touching on this particular situation. So, if you are not familiar with Dybbuk boxes, or you want to learn more about the specific Dybbuk box that Post Malone is potentially affected by, I will have a link at the very top of my description. You can head on over to that video. I spend 20 minutes literally outlining everything about Dybbuk boxes, where this Dybbuk box originated from, and the dangers of ever touching or opening a Dybbuk box like such. So you may want to head on over and watch that video first if you're unfamiliar, but for those of you who did watch that video and maybe have heard about this whole Post Malone situation, let's just dive right into it. So as I'm sure you guys have seen or heard lately, Post Malone has been finding himself in the news with an incredibly horrific string of what appears to be bad luck. On August 21st, his private plane with 16 passengers on it had to make an emergency landing because upon takeoff, the plane's left two tires blew. Which, could you even imagine being on a plane where the plane's tires are blown and you essentially have to circle around and rid engine fuel in order for you to potentially, hopefully, make a safe landing? I just feel like that within itself is horrific enough. But thank goodness for Post Malone, his plane made a safe landing into New York and everything was all good. That was until on September 1st, 3 men with guns barged into a San Fernando Valley home where Post Malone used to live. And when they got into the house, one of the men began screaming, "Where is Post Malone? Where is Post Malone?" Now, luckily for him, he had no association with the new owners of the home and he no longer lived there. So the owners of that home just got robbed, which is absolutely horrible, but there were no deaths and there were no injuries sustained. But with that being said, nobody knows what would have happened had Post still lived there. So that was an incredibly close call, once again, just shortly after the whole incident with the plane. Then on September 7th, just 2 and a bit weeks after Post's plane had to make an emergency landing in New York, he got into a high-speed accident that could have been deadly. Like, his door where he was driving was dented in, and he is just so incredibly lucky that while being T-boned, he didn't sustain horrible injuries or worse, death.
Completely smashed in. Both vehicles were left blocking the street until tow trucks hauled the cars away.
His Rolls Royce had actually crashed into a Kia and then hit a fence, and remarkably, he actually wound up walking away with no injuries. Now, right after this, Post went ahead and tweeted, "God must hate me." I mean, if we're looking at all of these events that have just happened, these 3 events, First, his plane has to make an emergency landing because 2 tires are blown. Then his old home gets broken into with 3 armed men that were specifically looking for him. They weren't looking to rob, they were asking where he was and demanding that they tell where he was. And then just after that, he gets into a very, very bad car accident. There were conspiracies arising. People were wondering if perhaps he was trying to expose something to do with the government. There were so many people talking. And then Zak Bagans came forward and released some footage that is just chilling. So back in June, which is about 2-ish months before these string of events began, Post Malone had actually went and paid a visit to Ghost Adventures host Zak Bagans' Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. So Zak was actually showing Post Malone around the museum, and Post Malone was sipping on a beer, and they were kind of going through all of the different haunted items when they went into a room containing one of the most, if not the most, haunted items in the world, the Dybbuk box. Now, typically, in order to see this box, you have to be 18 years of age or older, and you have to sign a waiver to see it, but even so, it always has this protective casing over top of the Dybbuk box in order to protect anybody who goes in to see it from anything evil attaching to them. But Zak actually went ahead and let Post Malone see the Dybbuk box without the protective casing. Now I'm about to show you footage of Post Malone and Zak within this room with the Dybbuk box, and I want you guys to pay close attention because during this clip you can see that Zak very obviously has his hand on top of the exposed Dybbuk box. But then, a very uncomfortable Post Malone from what I've gathered. Like, by looking at this video, I feel as though he was already sensing something or was really uncomfortable in this room. Judge it for yourself and let me know in the comments below, but that's the vibe that I was getting. Post goes ahead, almost in my opinion, as if to say like, let's go or something along those lines. Regardless though, he touches Zak's shoulder while Zak was touching the Dybbuk box. Now, according to Zak, who is a paranormal expert, just by Post Malone touching his shoulder while he was touching the Dybbuk box was enough contact for Post to be cursed by the box. But even more terrifying, Zak said that Post Malone saw a dark figure and that he said it followed them out of the museum, which is just like so scary. So you're probably wondering, like, why is this so bad? Why could this have happened? What is so bad about this box that all of these horrible things could be happening to Post? A Dybbuk is a malicious spirit bound on earth to either a person or an object or within the Dybbuk box. And they are evil spirits / or demons that can possess, cause harm, curse, and ruin the lives of the living. Now, in that video that I last did on Dybbuk boxes, we had discussed the story behind the most famous Dybbuk box in the world, the most dangerous. And in that video, I'd actually told you guys that the location of the box was unknown, but that was actually false information because this exact box in Zak Bagans' museum is the most famous, most dangerous, most haunted, which is the exact one that Post Malone came into contact with. This box is so incredibly dangerous, you guys. A previous owner was having continuous demonic, dark, and evil dreams while it was in his presence. He gifted it to his mother, who then had a stroke, and while still in the hospital, scribbled on a piece of paper that she hates the gift. He gave it to multiple people who all had horrible, horrible things happening to him, and it was not safe or secured or contained until it was put into this museum. Now, here's what scares me the most about this whole Post Malone situation, and that's the fact that when I did my research on the Dybbuk box and I read all of the terrible things that happened when people were in the presence of the Dybbuk box or when they owned the Dybbuk box, it made sense to me because they had the box. But then they would pass the box on and things seemed to go relatively back to normal. I mean, I've never kept in contact with the people, I don't even know them, but from what I've read and the research I've done, they didn't continue the reports about this Dybbuk box. It was just passed on. The Dybbuk box is still in Zach's museum. The Dybbuk box is not within the presence of Post Malone. The fact that he claims that a dark figure followed them out of the building and now all of these things are happening to him, it's a pretty terrifying indicator that maybe something has actually formed an attachment to him, in which case he would need to seek some serious professional paranormal help. I think what's even more terrifying about this entire thing is knowing what people who have been in the presence of the Dybbuk box have went through, and then wondering what could be going on in Post Malone's personal life that may correlate with the Dybbuk box. Is he having demonic nightmares? Are things in his personal life going downhill? Are there things in his home happening? Is he hearing scratching? Like, what else could be going on? We just know because of who he is, 3 massive near-death experiences he's had in the few short months since he came into contact with this Dybbuk box. Who knows what's going on in his personal life, and who knows what could happen next. The main reason I wanted to make this video is because I had told you guys in the last video that Dybbuk boxes are no joke. I had told you guys, well, there are people on YouTube or online who are opening up these Dybbuk boxes that may or may not be fake. You never know. But either way, it's not something to take lightly. Think about the fact that Zach said that by Post Malone touching his shoulder while he was touching the Dybbuk box, it was enough for all these bad things to happen to him. You have to be so cautious and careful when it comes to haunted, cursed, possessed items, because you just never know the effect that they may have on your life. What do you guys think of this entire Post Malone thing? Do you guys think that it's just incredibly bad luck on his side? Or do you think that perhaps something from the Dybbuk box clung to him, or that just being in the presence brought on a string of bad luck? Regardless, I definitely really hope that Post Malone's luck turns around. I love him. I would never want anything bad to happen to him, and it's incredibly unfortunate, but also an incredible blessing that while he was faced with all of these near-death experiences, which is awful, he came out unharmed of each, which is incredible. But please make sure to let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this, if you've heard of this, and just anything and everything, because I love more than anything to read your guys' comments and see what you all think. Well, you guys, that is it for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. You guys were requesting it like crazy, and I've been looking into it like crazy, so I was like, let's talk about it, why not? And yeah, if you guys are new to my channel or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my videos, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button. On October 1st, I begin 31 days of Halloween, which means 31 days straight of uploading, 31 videos back to back. So if you enjoy my content, you definitely don't want to miss that. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it, because it makes my heart really happy when I know that you guys enjoy the content that I create. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until next time, I love you.